Today in a New York federal courtroom, Diddy Combs told the judge he was, quote, a little nervous.
It's a moment that could change everything. Imagine sitting in a courtroom, the world watching, and the person who's about to decide your fate? A stranger. Someone you've never met, but their opinion will determine whether you walk free or face consequences for a lifetime. This was the reality for Diddy Combs. A man known for his power, his wealth, and his influence. Yet, in that moment, he was just another person standing trial. The question was simple. Could someone like him really be judged fairly? Could the law, despite the wealth and fame surrounding him, still prevail? And here's the thing. It wasn't the trial itself that would make or break him. It wasn't even the evidence or the media storm. It was something much more fundamental, something people rarely think about: jury selection. Think about it. A group of strangers, handpicked to decide the fate of a superstar. A group who could be swayed by the smallest detail. Their bias, their opinions, all of it playing into how they would vote. But here's the catch. In a case this high profile, things aren't always what they seem. Diddy may have had money, fame, and power, but none of that mattered in that cold courtroom. When it came down to it, there was one question no one had the answer to yet. Would this jury, handpicked for this very moment, believe in him, or would they tear him apart? Stay with me, because what you're about to discover is nothing like you imagined. The truth behind jury selection? It's darker, more complicated, and more powerful than anyone wants to admit. Channel CTA. If you're captivated by stories like this, subscribe to the Crime Chapter 1 for more true crime content. Like, comment, and let us know what you think. Where are you watching from? We'd love to hear your thoughts on this shocking case. Brick. They say fame can protect you. But for Diddy Combs, it didn't. The courtroom didn't care about his Grammys, his brand, or his business empire. He was a man facing justice. Everything began unraveling after disturbing allegations emerged, dark claims of corruption, control, and abuse of power. Suddenly, the smiling mogul on the red carpet was being painted as someone very different behind closed doors. But here's the twist. The deeper you go, the darker it gets. Because this isn't just about one man on trial. It's about a justice system that bends under pressure. About how public perception can be manipulated. And how, behind the scenes, jury selection became a war. Yes, a war. A silent one. The kind of battle that doesn't make headlines, but decides them. The media flashed headlines: Diddy under fire. Jury to decide fate of hip-hop icon. But what no one told you is how those jurors were picked. Who were they? What did they believe in? And more importantly, who controlled their selection? Pause and think, what if the entire outcome of this trial depended on how 12 strangers felt about celebrity, wealth, or even race? Chilling, right? One juror, just one, could sway the vote. All it takes is one doubt, one bias, one opinion they carried into the courtroom without even realizing it. And this is where the Rayall story begins. In a room away from the cameras, prosecutors and defense attorneys fight not over guilt or innocence, but over people, over the minds that will hear the evidence, over who gets to sit in that jury box. It's not random, it's strategic, and in a case as explosive as this, the stakes couldn't be higher. While the world focused on Diddy's every move, his legal team worked behind the scenes like chess players, analyzing names, profiles, backgrounds, looking for the perfect combination of human traits that could save him. Sounds like a movie, right? But this is real. And the worst part? You might not even realize how much power a jury holds until it's your life in their hands. So now you know, this case isn't just about guilt or innocence. It's about power, perception, and the silent psychological warfare happening before the trial even starts. And what happened next? Well, that's where things get even darker. So ask yourself, if you were picked for that jury, would you have judged him fairly? Or would you already have made up your mind? Let's find out how this jury was picked, and how that decision alone almost changed everything. Direct Hit. Remember, if you're into real human stories and true crime breakdowns like this, make sure you follow the Crime Chapter 1. Subscribe to the channel and drop a comment with your country. Tell us what justice means to you. Everything seemed normal. Until it wasn't. Diddy Combs had been untouchable for decades. A billionaire, an icon, a name you couldn't avoid in music, fashion, or pop culture. He wasn't just famous. He was culture. But behind the empire, something was breaking. And it started quietly. Calendar October 2023. Cassie Ventura, the woman many called the quiet heartbeat of Diddy's world, filed a lawsuit. Her accusations were shocking. Assault, manipulation, control. She described years of fear wrapped in luxury. Her words were calm, but the truth underneath them? Terrifying. 50 words passed. Now here's the twist. No entry. This lawsuit wasn't about money. It was about survival. Cassie's legal team made one thing clear. This isn't revenge. This is release. And it worked. Within 24 hours, Diddy settled. But that's where most people stopped paying attention. They thought it was over. They were wrong. Calendar November 2023. More women came forward. Some anonymous. Some shaking as they spoke. One woman claimed she was drugged. Another said she was hunted across hotel floors. The stories varied, but one theme was common: fear. Pushpin question to you. When 5 people tell the same nightmare, is it still a dream? The pressure started building. Social media erupted. Headlines blurred. Diddy's PR machine tried to bury the fire, but this time, the fire spoke back. Calendar December 2023. A raid. Federal agents swarmed 2 of Diddy's homes, Miami and Los Angeles, like scenes out of a crime thriller. Helicopters above. Guns drawn. Boxes of evidence carried away. Diddy wasn't there, but his empire was bleeding. And in the middle of it all? Silence. You could hear it. You could feel it. He didn't post. Didn't speak. Didn't explain. No entry because what do you say when the walls start closing in? Calendar January 2024. A grand jury is quietly convened. That's when the real fear begins, not just for Diddy, but for everyone around him. Because this wasn't just about assault anymore. This was about conspiracy, witness tampering, financial coercion, alleged sex trafficking. Suddenly, the charges had grown teeth. Pushpin imagined being loved by millions, but hunted by justice. One former bodyguard came forward anonymously. I knew what was happening, but I was scared. We all were. You don't just go against that kind of power. Let that sink in. A man hired to protect, feared the person he protected. Calendar March 2024. Prosecutors began preparing a list, not just of evidence, but of names. Celebrities, executives, associates. People who were once untouchable were now being quietly investigated. And still, no formal charges. It felt like the calm before a storm. But insiders knew the storm had already started. It was just hidden. Calendar April 2024. Diddy's lawyers receive notice. Prepare for trial. And that's when everything shifted. Because now, it wasn't about accusations. It was about strategy. It was about picking the right 12 minds, the jury. The people who would decide whether Sean Combs walks free, or becomes a headline that lives forever. No entry, but how do you find justice in a world where fame blinds the truth? And that's the question the courtroom would soon face. Direct hit if this shocked you. Wait till you see how the jury was picked, how they were vetted, and how a single silent choice almost changed the future. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to the Crime Chapter 1 and support the series. This is the Crime Chapter 1. Real stories. Raw truth. Your voice matters. Tell us your country in the comments and what justice means to you. And they say where there's smoke, there's fire. But what if the smoke is manufactured, and the real fire is hidden under diamonds, private jets, and platinum records? That's the riddle at the center of Sean Diddy Combs' legal storm. And the theories? They're darker than anyone expected. Let's break them down, one by one. Brain. Some investigators believe Diddy crafted a world where fear looked like love, and control wore the mask of protection. He allegedly picked vulnerable young artists, offered them fame, then slowly isolated them. And in private, he controlled who they spoke to, where they went, even what they wore. They didn't realize they were in a cage. Because the cage was made of gold. He was charming, brilliant. But when the cameras were off, there was a switch, said one anonymous source. Now pause. Think about this. Why did so many people stay silent for so long? Because fear isn't always loud. Sometimes, fear is silent dinners in mansions. Sometimes it's the price of survival. Brain. This one hit hard. Some federal documents suggest the case isn't just about abuse, it may be about transport. As in, young women being flown across state lines for parties that were more sinister than social. And if proven true, that moves this case from celebrity scandal to felony-level human rights violations. Police Carlight let that sit, trafficking victims, hidden in VIP lounges. They were smiling, dressed like models, but their eyes were empty, said a former employee at one of Diddy's parties. Like they weren't really there. No entry, that's not fame. That's a system. A dark one. Brain. This theory suggests Diddy didn't just abuse, he erased. Witnesses allegedly offered NDAs with massive payouts. Some were threatened. Some were followed. One even claimed their car brakes were tampered with after trying to go public. Pushpin, imagine holding a truth so big, it could get you killed. Could a music mogul really pull that off? He had the money, the lawyers, the reach. And most chilling? He had the silence of the people who knew him best. Because silence isn't always protection. Sometimes, it's complicity. Brain. Some believe Diddy isn't the only monster, just the biggest name. They say this is part of a larger elite ring, involving executives, politicians, foreign billionaires, and fashion industry moguls. And now that one domino is falling, the rest are trying to hide. That would explain the delays, the sealed files, the silence from other stars who used to call him brother. Zippermouth face, they're not avoiding him. They're protecting themselves. This theory chills to the bone. What if Diddy is just the beginning, not the end? Now think about it. A billionaire music legend. A string of victims with eerily similar stories. FBI raids. A sealed grand jury. And a courtroom that could tear the mask off a whole generation of celebrity culture. Pushpin, you still think this is just a tabloid case? Or is this a wake-up call? Subscribe to the Crime Chapter 1 and stay tuned, because in Part 5, Current Status, we reveal what's happening now behind closed courtroom doors. Who's testifying? Who's disappearing? And what the media isn't telling you. This is the Crime Chapter 1. No filters. No spin. Just truth. The courtroom is quiet. Too quiet. But beneath the surface of that silence, a war is being fought. And it's happening right now. Stop sign. In fact, what's happening behind those closed doors could be more explosive than we ever imagined. Police Carlight witnesses are emerging. But here's the twist. They're disappearing just as quickly. 2 women were scheduled to testify this month. But suddenly, they're in. The lawyers? Tight-lipped. Some claim it's an attempt to silence the voices of the brave. But is it? Or is it part of a bigger plan? One thing's for sure. Every time someone steps up to speak the truth, someone else gets threatened. But who's pulling the strings from behind the scenes? And why is the pressure mounting? What don't we know? This trial is playing out like a high-stakes chess match. Every move calculated, every pawn carefully positioned. And the tension? It's at a boiling point. Calendar, it's been weeks since the trial started. But crucial evidence still hasn't been presented. Because what's inside that evidence could change the entire game. Behind that veil, key players are making deals. Payouts are being arranged. And a whole army of lawyers is sitting on explosive information, waiting for the perfect moment to drop the bomb. But you won't hear about it on the evening news. Because the media is a part of this too. They know which stories to cover and which ones to bury. Puzzle piece, something is being hidden. It's a cover-up that involves more than just Diddy. The walls of this trial are thick, and they're built with money, power, and intimidation. Imagine this. You've been hiding for years. But now, the walls are starting to crumble. The truth is pushing through. And there's no going back. But the public? They don't see it. They only see the headlines, the buzzwords, the breaking news, flashes across their TV screens. But there's a bigger story, one that could unravel Hollywood's darkest secrets. And it's about to come to light. But will the people behind the scenes let that happen? Or will they control the narrative until the very end? The tension is growing. The stakes are higher than ever. And as the world watches, we're left to wonder, who's really in control here? Magnifying glass tilted left. Stay tuned for Part 6, conclusion and emotional sign-off. In the final part of this video, we'll uncover how this trial will shape the future of celebrity culture. Who will rise? Who will fall? And what does this case say about the system that allowed it to happen? If you're ready for that final chapter, hit the subscribe button and like this video. Drop a comment below and let us know. What's your theory? Who's to blame in this tangled web of lies and deception? The Crime Chapter 1 has you covered. This is the Crime Chapter 1. No holds barred. No turning back. Stay with us and keep the truth alive. End screen. Subscribe to the Crime Chapter 1 for more true crime content. Hit the bell icon for notifications on our latest videos. And this trial, these events, they're more than just about Diddy. It's not just about a famous face, the wealth, the fame. It's about the very system that's supposed to serve justice, but instead keeps getting distorted. The truth, it's just one ripple away from breaking through the surface. But how long will it take to surface? How many more lives must be ruined before we see it? Movie camera, imagine this. A world where the powerful walk free, while the voiceless stay silenced. Where justice is negotiable, and the scales are tipped in favor of money. Where the courtroom is a battleground, and no one is playing by the rules. Is this the America we want to live in? Is this the world we want our children to inherit? The trial of Sean Diddy Combs is not just about his actions. It's a symbol of a much larger issue, a broken system that needs to change. But as this case comes to a close, we have to ask, who wins when the system is rigged? And who loses? For the victims, this is a nightmare that doesn't end when the trial does. For Diddy, the price of fame is about to become much higher than anyone can imagine. And the truth? It's buried deep beneath layers of wealth, power, and influence. But for us? We're left in the dark, trying to piece together a puzzle that doesn't have all its pieces yet. And just when we think we're about to get an answer, the door slams shut again. Now, here's the hardest part to swallow. What if the truth never fully comes to light? What if the verdict doesn't bring the justice we all hope for? Is there hope left for a world that's become so accustomed to the lies? Can we even trust the system anymore? Or is it just broken beyond repair? One thing is certain, the story isn't over. Not yet. As we close this chapter, think about this. What if this is just the beginning? A story that continues to unfold, and a truth that will eventually rise, but only if we demand it. Red Circle, subscribe now to the Crime Chapter 1 to stay updated on the latest developments. Drop a comment below. We want to hear your thoughts on the case. Do you believe justice will be served? Share your theories, your opinions, and let us know how you feel about what's unfolding. The story isn't over, and neither is the fight for truth. We've followed this case from start to finish, and one thing is clear. The system isn't just broken, it's in pieces. But there's still time to put it back together. We're counting on the truth. We're counting on you. Stay with us. Stay informed. And stay ready for what comes next. Because the truth is waiting to be found. Subscribe to the Crime Chapter 1 for more true crime content. Hit the bell icon for notifications on our latest videos.